Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, so 1 week ago today, I did I completed my first 100-mile ultramarathon, the Leona Divide. This was on April 20th, 2024. Got my first official 100-mile belt buckle, which I'm very excited about. Hopefully the first of many. And the race was a wild experience, a lot of fun. I'm going to do a whole video on the race itself and another video on the training, but I thought something that might be interesting to other people, because other people's videos were interesting to me, was the stuff that I brought with me for the race. A 100-mile race, what the heck does a person bring for a 100-mile race? This race was well supported. There were a lot of aid stations, probably every 8 to 10 miles there was an aid station, which was useful, but I don't know exactly. I've never done a race this long in my life. Longest race I've done prior to this was a 50K, which is 31 miles. So this is a big difference. And I wanted to make sure I was prepared. So I watched tons of videos, figured out what I thought I might need, and this is what I brought. Now, before I get started, I want to say that my race went amazingly well. I wasn't super fast. My only goal was to finish it because, again, I've never run this far. I had no idea if I would even make it. So my main goal was to finish the race within the time and get my silly buckle, which you can see I have. Very proud of that. And this is what I got. So let's start. What the heck did I wear? Start at the very beginning. These are the things that I wore for the whole race. I'm going to start there because it's the easiest. Number one, first thing, this crappy old 12-year-old, really beat up Gasparilla race shirt, which is Gasparilla is a Gasparilla Distance Classic, is a race series that they have in Florida every year, and I got this in 2012. It's been washed a million times. The sleeves are cut off. It's a good material, like for like an athletic thing. Figured I'd represent my home state, so wore this shirt. It was very comfortable. Did the job nicely. Get that out of the way. The shorts I wore were these generic, off of Amazon, little running shorts. I got a 3-inch inseam here, and they're lined. And again, there's some generic brand off of Amazon. They're very cheap. And I typically would wear nicer running shorts for years. And when I went to buy some, a whole bunch popped up. They were generic, and I was looking at like New Balance, which I've worn a lot of times, and I really like their shorts. And I was like, man, for the price of a pair of New Balance shorts, I can get 4 pairs of different generic shorts, and I just try them. So I was like, well, let me try some, because I'd rather have a pair each day than have like 2 nice pairs that I have to wash all the time. And so this is one of the pairs I got, and I gotta say, it's awesome. They're super comfortable. Didn't have any problems, no rashes, nothing rubbing, no weird reactions because of the elastic. The shorts held up really, really well. I fell in them. You can see they're really dirty because I took a tumble at one point. I bruised my hip really bad right there. See that bruise? Didn't mess up the shorts at all. Totally awesome. And they've been great. Now, that said, I did use some... Where is it? I put it over here somewhere. I did use a little bit of a lubricant, like a chamois butter, I think is the one that I used. Let me check really quick. Put all my extra supplies off to the side here. Of course. Inconveniently, right when I need to do this, I don't have anything I want to show. Good job, Gordon. Anyway, it's around here somewhere. Oh, it's right in front of me. It's been here the whole time. Chamois butter. I use this beforehand, and this is typically a thing for, like, cyclists use this in their shorts, and this stuff works awesome. But yeah, no rashes. Shorts work great. Cheap. I'll put a link to anything below. All this stuff, I'll link it below, and certain things I'm going to do full reviews on, and I'll get into some of those in a bit, but these shorts were great. Awesome. Socks I wore after watching many videos. I saw a lot of people had issues with getting blisters between their toes. I have a lot of friends that are ultramarathoners, and they said the same thing. You get blisters between the toes when you run, so you can either tape your toes up or get some socks that separate your toes, which is what we did. My wife found these somewhere. I think they're from Amazon as well. I think they're, what are they called? V-Well, I think is what the company name is. These are the ones I wore in the race, so they're disgusting. I wore these to protect the feet, and they're very thin material. And then I wore a pair of like good quality running socks on top of these socks. So it kind of gave me a lot of extra kind of foot protection. Now, I gotta say, these work great. I didn't get any blisters between my toes. All that was great. My toes did get pretty beat up in the course of this race, just from the almost 17,000 feet of vertical climb and ascents and descents. And so when you're running downhill, your toes just get beat up regardless. But I did not get blisters between my toes. These socks did a good job. These socks, I can't remember the brand here, but these are, what does this say on the bottom? Danish Endurance. Anyway, these socks, I've used these for a while. They're very supportive. They're kind of like compression in the right places. You know, they're high quality socks. They're very nice. They're very disgusting. Again, these are the ones I wore in the race. You can see how dirty they are. Socks over socks, that worked great. Then for the shoes, one of the most important things you can wear in a running race, I wore Ultra Superiors, which is one of my favorites. Now, clearly this is not the pair I wore during the race. This is a brand new one that I had as a backup just in case in my box. These are the ones I wore during the race, which I've had for a while. I did a review on these. I've had these shoes for more than 2 years. I have run 3 marathons. Well, technically two trail marathons and a 50K. So 3 marathon or longer races plus tons and tons and tons and tons of training. Then I just ran 100 miles in these shoes, and they have held up so well. I've used Ultra Superiors since 2014, and they are one of my favorite shoes. But the previous versions, they held up well enough. But this version, this is the 5. They are just, I mean, I have put an insane amount of miles in these, and the only hole in all the upper is right there, and it's not a wear and tear thing. This is from kicking a big rock by accident, not during the 100 miles, just out on a training run. And that's the only rip or tear at all in the whole upper. So these have hundreds of miles, hundreds and hundreds of like really brutal hard miles in them, and they're holding up amazing. So Ultra Superior. Now, one thing about these shoes is they are not super maximalist cushy shoes. I do not like those. I feel like they make my ankles unstable. When a shoe is really soft, my foot is fighting the whole time to like stay stable. So I prefer even more minimalist shoes than this, but when I'm running on trails with lots of rocks and going through night and trying to like keep fast time, I want a little more protection. So these have a little bit of thickness at the bottom, but they're not super cushy soft shoes. They're light and they're nimble, and they're got a big toe box. Really good. I'm gonna do a full review on these because super impressed. Again, brand new pair here, same shoe, different color. It's amazing. I've had those for over 2 years, and I decided I'm gonna run the race in old shoes. Worked great. Worked great. Let's see, hat. This is a hat that I wore throughout the whole race. It's got a thing in the back, a little neck protector, keep the sun off. It's awesome. And I have a few hats like this. I like these. I got a bald head, as you can see, so anything I can do to protect from the sun is great. And I have another one made by Columbia that I really like. It's slightly thinner material. This isn't thick, but the other one's even thinner and lighter, and has a slightly smaller neck protector. And I love that one as well, but this one has the little strap, the chin strap, and where the run was, it gets very, very windy sometimes. So I was like, you know, if it gets windy, I prefer to not lose my hat off of a cliff or something. So I brought this one. Ended up not being that windy. I could have worn the other hat, but this hat's amazing. This is made by North Face. My wife got, I mean, you're going to hear this a lot, but she picked this up for me 2 years ago. I crewed my friend Lindsay Phoenix at the Badwater 135, and my wife got me this full crazy like white desert running outfit, and this was the closest to white hat we could get. It's kind of cream color. And she picked it up for me, and it was fantastic for that. Worked great in this race. So North Face, whatever model hat this is, you can see, give you an idea. Works great, very comfortable, and awesome. Another thing I ended up wearing the whole race were these arm sleeves, which initially I just put on in the morning because the race started at 5:30 in the morning. So I put these on as a kind of extra layer just to keep warm. But I ended up wearing them the whole race just to help with sun and so forth. So I put sunblock on beforehand. Ended up wearing these. These come a generic. This is another generic brand. These come in a pack. I want to say there's like 8 in a pack, and there's like a black, a darker gray, a lighter gray, and white. And there's 2 of each. And they're super cheap. And I wear them when I ride my bike and so forth. And they're awesome. There might be 6. I could be wrong. But I'll put a link to these below. Cheap arm protectors. Just keep the sun off. They worked awesome. And another thing, I'll come back to these in a second. This is my hat that I wore in the morning and in the evening through the night. Because started in the morning, but the race took 30 hours. So you go back in the night, it gets cool again. This was the hat that I wore to keep my head warm. This is by Nathan Running Company. I don't know if it can show up here, but this has some reflective stuff on here that is very, very reflective in the dark. And this hat is, my wife says it looks like a swim cap, but it's very fitted, super warm. And these are like 25 or 30 bucks. But I got this one for like $7 in the sale bin at REI. I saw it and I was like, oh, I'll pick that up. And I love it. I would definitely get this again. But this is what it looks like. It's super warm. What I love about these is it's so thin and fitted that you can wear it under a hat easily. So I wore this under that other hat for the first like hour and a half of the race, and then all during the night, the next night. And I use this when I'm cycling too, under my bike helmet. So this is really good buy. Next, neck gaiter, like to keep my neck warm. This is, see how long it is, so you can really pull it up if you need to. This, I got, some guy sent this to me. He did some artwork of my Star Wars leg lamp and put on a shirt. And I guess he didn't know that it was mine. All these people tagged me. He felt bad. He's like, hey, let me send you something. And he sent me a shirt, and he sent me a bunch of these gaiters. And he did all the artwork on here. You can see his Mandalorian, Star Wars stuff. But he sent me a few of these. And the artwork's fine. I like it. But the actual material, the company, whoever he gets these from, did a really good job, because this is, I've had this for like 2 years. Washed it a ton of times, and it feels like, it looks and it feels like brand new. So wherever he got it from, that's awesome. I have a link to his Instagram someplace. Let's see if I can add it to this. But quality, that's great. Got it for free. And then this, this is probably the most important thing I brought with me. That is my tracker watch, which is a Coros Apex 2 Pro. And this has an incredible battery life. It does really, really good GPS tracking, and you can put in map data, so it does turn by turn. So during the race, I could load in the GPX file that the race director supplied, and my watch keeps track of the whole thing. So if I started to go off course, my watch would give me a little beep, you know, give me a little heads up that, hey, look at your watch, you're going somewhere wrong. It shows your elevation, which I found to be super, super useful, because you can look ahead and see when you're coming up on hills and down hills and kind of plot ahead a little bit. Found that to be extremely useful, way more useful than I expected. I love this watch. I got it in December, and I was waiting for this race before I did my review, because I really wanted to see how it was in a 100-mile distance, because this race took me 30 hours. So this was on full GPS, full turn-by-turn tracking, all that for 30 hours. And when I finished the race, there's still 20% battery left on here. And there are ways, you have options to extend it to up to 74 hours with full GPS mode. So, I mean, really, really incredible battery life. And it looks like I've worn this since December, and it's been binged up and hit things, and there's not one scratch, not one scratch on the face of this watch. So that's very impressive. And right now, I haven't charged it since before the race, and it has 8% left. It was 9% this morning. Just finally went down to 8%. That was over a week ago, plus 100-mile ultramarathon, and I still have 8% left, which this 8% will probably last me the rest of the week if I just let it. But amazing watch. Coros Apex 2 Pro, love it very much. I'll do a full review. Then I had gloves, which initially I bought these, well, my wife bought these for me. It was something that I wanted to get because I was going to use trekking poles. I've never used trekking poles on a running kind of race before. I have some. I use them sometimes when I hike, and I have a different pair that are kind of heavy. So I researched, ended up buying this pair, which I'll get into in a second, but got the gloves because I was going to use poles, and people said sometimes the poles will give you blisters, so it doesn't hurt to have a pair of gloves. I put these on at the very beginning of the race, not knowing when I was going to start using the poles. Wore them the whole race, for literally the whole 30 hours of the race. These were on my hands. They're really comfortable. Helped keep the sun off. Didn't get blisters from the poles. Really good. So, gloves. Oh yeah, let me grab these. What brand are these? I'll show you here. Calais? I don't know. I'll ask my wife to send me a link to where she got these so I can include them if you want this pair in particular. Another really important thing is my windbreaker. And this is a Patagonia Houdini windbreaker. Now, see how it folds up in like a little pouch? I didn't know it did this. I had this for a while and I'd wear it. And I really like it because it's nice and thin. It's easy to pack away. And the day I met my friend Andy Glaze a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, he's like, oh, that's a Patagonia Houdini. I was like, I guess so. It's, you know, I like it. And he goes, oh yeah, it all packs up in that pocket. And I didn't know. I said, why do they call it Houdini? He goes, it packs up in the pocket. So it kind of like magic. It disappears. And it opens up. And this thing, I have two of these now. I have a newer one. Almost the same, very slight design differences here and there, but basically the same thing. This is my original one. Now, I've used this an absolute ton. There's no holes, there's no snags. The material is very strong, and it's very thin, and it keeps the wind out, and it keeps the warmth in. So even though it's so thin, if you're doing something active and you're generating extra heat, it will stay in here. Very highly recommend this. This is like not the cheapest thing that I've got in my kit, but I really recommend one of these. I use this in the morning for about an hour, and then maybe a little longer, and then in the evening it came back out for the night part of the run too. So that, very useful, folds up small. Also, I have my sunglasses, which I wore these for the whole first day. These are by the company Goodr, Goodr. Now, I really like these glasses. They've got like a rubbery kind of feel. The lenses have held up well. I've dropped them a lot of times and have like not had a problem. I didn't think to go buy these. They're not terribly expensive. They're like $25 maybe, in that range. So they're not super cheap, but they're not expensive glasses. And I got all of them for free. I actually have probably like 30 pairs of these glasses, not like all different frame styles and lenses, and like a ton, which I won them at a costume contest. My friend Phil Guyman, who's a cyclist, I'll put a link to his channel below, has a group ride every year called Phil Spondo. It's near Halloween, so sometimes people dress up. He had a costume contest. So I came and I won the contest. Lo and behold, the prize was a box of Goodr sunglasses. And I was like, cool, I like sunglasses. Got a huge box of them. So I'm not sponsored, but I have an absolute crap load of these things. And I like them. I really like them. So I would recommend them. Nobody's paying me to say that, but I like them. And when it got to this race, I was surprised how many other people were wearing this brand stuff. So anyway, I wore this pair for the first full day. And then later on in the night, before the next morning, I grabbed another pair out of the bin, which looks like this. And I didn't do it for any other reason. The first ones I grabbed, because like I said, I have a bunch of these. But these are also Goodr sunglasses. They're really comfortable. They fit my face well. They seem sturdy. They come with a little bag. I like them. They're good. But come back to that. Right when I left in the morning, it was dark. The race started at 5:30, so I had a little headlamp. I did not get some expensive Petzl or one of these other brands or Black Diamond or something. Just used a little Energizer, a little AAA guy, and guess what? This thing freaking kicked butt. I mean, I would rather carry 2 of these and some extra batteries than some expensive like USB rechargeable. Some of those are really nice, but if the battery goes dead, if it has a replaceable battery, it's typically some like proprietary weird battery, whereas this light costs like probably like $8, and I can keep batteries in my back, and then it works awesome. If I had 2 of these, I'd feel very comfortable. So here's what this looks like. Energizer. I don't know what model this is, but it was very cheap. So that came with me through the night. I did bring my 360 camera. This is a Insta360 One X2. It's like 2 generations old, but still works freaking great. I love this camera. I only used it at the very start of the race because I had so much crap with me that it was just kind of awkward to like take it in and out to film things. I think if I do another 100, I will bring it again. This time it was kind of like wasted weight that I didn't need to bring. Next time I'm going to bring it, but I'm going to work out a way to hold it so that I can use it more easily. Very useful. Very, very. I love this camera. Didn't use it, but for one shot. The trekking poles. These, never used trekking poles for a run, so I did a bunch of research online. Seemed like, you know, Black Diamond and there's another company. There's a few companies that make them. They're very expensive. And I'm like, I don't want to pay that much for trekking poles. I don't even know if I like to use them for running. So did a bunch of research, and I found this pair on Amazon, which are E-Trol. Is this the name of the brand? This is the brand name. They had some of the features that the Black Diamond ones have. I'm going to do a full review on these because I'm very, very impressed with these. But basically, you can open up like that fast, and they're ready to go. They're carbon. They're really light. I had these in my hands from mile 34 all the way to the end of the race. I carried them and didn't have any problem. My arms weren't sore. I didn't feel fatigued. They helped so much. I couldn't even believe it. Never used these for running. I will absolutely use these again. They worked awesome. And I would recommend these for sure. If you're trying poles out and you don't want to buy like super expensive ones, these really, really, really good. The full review will be coming up on these soon enough. But see how quick they fold up? These were awesome. And then we come down to my actual running vest. This is I don't know what model this is. I always said Saucony. I hear people say Saucony. I don't know what's right. They'll have to let me know because I have no idea. But I typically wear my vest like this. And this one, I could have probably got one the next size down would have maybe fit a little tiny bit better. But when this one's loaded, it feels great. But if it's half loaded, it kind of feels a little loose. But during this race, there's plenty of stuff in there, so it felt good. This race was fine. Slightly big otherwise. Another thing I carry, this is not the one I had with me, but I usually carry a pocket knife always when I run for stuff. They're handy for everything. I've carried one for 30 years. This is not the one I had in the race. The one I had in the race was a Milwaukee Fastback, about this size, similar type blade, slightly shorter, and it has a red handle. And I typically will just put my knife on my side right there in my vest. I don't even notice it while I'm running. This is not the one I used, but again, I carry a pocket knife. I think they're highly useful. Carried one for 30 years. But this is the vest. Plenty of room. Almost perfect. There's one little thing that irks me, and these are the water bottles that I use. The Solomon. I don't have a preference to the brand. This is like just the kind of size that I use. This one's still got some of my secret drink mix in here. I'll get into that in another video. But you see they fold up real small. Now, the problem with this vest, one problem, is this size water bottle fits perfectly on the left side, but on the right side, it doesn't fit perfectly because when they stitch the pocket right here, they stitch through the back here. So when the bottle goes in like this, it hits the stitching right there and stops. So you can't get this size bottle doesn't quite fit right. So the top of it always wants to dangle over. Pretty annoying. Other than that, this vest is amazing. And I mentioned before, I did have a pretty good wipeout. I was trying to take a picture of something and kicked a rock and I fell, bruised my hip, and I rolled. And I actually landed on my hiking poles hard on a bunch of rocks. I hadn't even used them yet at that point. And I was like, oh great, I probably just broke my hiking poles. It sounded awful. It's like the sound, I was kind of moving fast and I fell, rolled, and I slid on my back on the hiking poles, which were, at the time, on the back of the pack here. I did put a little hole. It's kind of hard to see at the moment because I taped it up. But there's a hole in the back and there's some stuff sticking out from wiping out. But this has been on a lot of runs with me. It's been very good. And in the pack, you saw I got my water bottle. I also carry some salt pills and a few Advil. I made all my own salt pills here, which I'll get into. I did a whole video on how I did them because I made a little jig to make them. So my own salt pills, those work great. I also carry a toilet kit in case I have to have, have any fecal urgency while I'm out in the bushes, which I did at mile 96. I had to stop. It was like 4 miles from the end of the race. And I had to have an emergency poop. So my little kit came in handy, but I also carry a couple Band-Aids. I keep my license in here just in case something happens to me, but let's clear that out of here now. Poop kit. Safety pins. I didn't carry all of these, but I do carry a few safety pins with me just in case my bib comes undone or something breaks on my pack and I need to cinch it back. Safety pins are good to have. This race was cupless, so I carried this little folding cup. Folds up real small. I ended up not using it at all. Whoops. Still look at that. I ended up not using it at all. I would have. It would have been really handy, but when I packed it away, it was way at the bottom of my pack, and when I stopped at the aid stations, I just didn't want to fish it out, so I ended up not using it. But I do like these things. I will use it next race. I'm just going to place it better. I'm probably going to clip it to the outside of my stuff so it's easy to get to. Got that. I carried a little bit of lube, the Gold Bond. I only used it once, and when I put it on, I actually don't even think I really needed to use it yet. I kind of just did it because I had stopped. I was like, oh, I should put some lube on just in case. But the chamois butter is what I put on initially, and this stuff worked really great. And at my drop bags, I went to the different stations. I added a little Ziploc with a little squirt of this in each Ziploc. So if I needed to, I could add some more. Ended up not using any. Whoa, sirens. I did not get a rash, I didn't get cramps, I didn't bonk, nothing. The race couldn't have gone more smoothly. My first 100 miler, I didn't have any problems, so that was amazing. And then at mile 34 was my first checkpoint where my wife was kind of my crew. So I sent drop bags out with some generic stuff, but at my checkpoint where I had crew, she had a big old bin in the back of the car with some extra things. And when I left there, I knew that I wasn't going to see her again until after dark. So I brought an extra shirt, another Gasparilla shirt like the one I was wearing, but this one's from 2010. Super beat up, but just another layer, just in case it got cold, that I could put on. It doesn't take up much space. I ended up wearing this later after dark. I threw that on to keep warm. And I brought these kind of running pants. I had some running tights in the car too, but I ended up bringing these because these have the zipper bottom, so you can put these on while your shoes are on. You can pull them on over your shoes. This is more like a thing that you put over your running shorts that you're wearing, more than a tight that you would put on as a base layer. So I carry these, but I never use them. So from mile 34 on, I had these in my backpack, so they're just extra weight. But I'm glad I had them, because if I needed them, I would have been really sad if I didn't. But I ended up not using these pants. And from that point on, I didn't see Natalie again. Here's my list, all my checkpoints. So I can see I saw her again at mile 68. So I saw her at mile 32.5, which ended up really being 34. And mile 68, I saw her again, and I picked up the different headlamp, which I used for a little bit, but I still ended up using that Energizer one the most. And I picked up some extra batteries for the Energizer. Didn't have to use them, Didn't have to use any other batteries. The batteries that I started with on that little headlamp made it through the whole race. At mile, right before probably mile 52, we started to get dark, maybe 53. I broke out that light, and when I pulled it out, the light was on in my backpack. So I don't know if I turned it on when I was trying to get to it, or if it was on for hours. I don't know. But I pulled the light out, it was on. So I was like, oh my God. And at the time, I didn't have extra batteries. So I'm just like, oh my God, hope I make it, because I don't have any extra lights. So that was the thing, carry an extra light. And that stuff pretty much got me through to the end of the race. Yeah, it was wild. It was great. Hopefully that list of things is helpful to some people. Again, my race could have gone more smoothly, and really, really happy with how everything came out. And I think that what I carried was pretty correct. I don't feel like I carried too much. There was nothing that I would have just left behind. There's stuff I didn't use, but I was glad that I had it. But yeah, felt pretty good about it. So anyway, that was my list. I'm gonna put a video for my training program here. Should show up hopefully when I get to post it. Overview of the whole race here, and then whatever video YouTube thinks you'll like will be down here, and then subscribe. How about that? Anyway, thanks for stopping by, listening to me ramble about all my stuff I brought with me at the Leona Divide 100-mile ultra marathon that I just finished. I'm very proud. Thanks, kids. See you later. Bye.